All right, you're welcome back now. Now, the press is regarded as a last hope of the common man, but the provisions of the proposed Press Council Bill 2018 is what has angered media stakeholders across the country.
Yeah. Now, they say it is draconian and unconstitutional. The bill, which has recently passed for a second reading at the Senate, seeks to empower the Nigerian Press Council on decisions relating to training institutions and professional qualifications that would be acceptable for journalism practice in Nigeria. Now, many stakeholders therefore want the National Assembly to throw this bill away, saying that the provisions of the bill will have an implication for free speech, press freedom, media independence, safety of journalists, among others. But how will this pan out? How should we understand the dynamics that is going on right now? It's part of what we'll be talking about right now. Joining us to discuss this is the Executive Director, Journalists for Democratic Rights, Adewale Adeoye.
Yeah.
Good morning.
Nice to see you.
Thank you very much for coming.
Make us understand from the perspective or window of someone who doesn't even have an idea of what this whole thing is about. What are the fears? What are the concerns? And what is about to happen?
Well, we first of all must understand that the government and the media, you know, it's always been a kind of cat and mouse game. The government wants the media that is defined in its own image. And this battle has been ongoing for a very long time. In fact, from the days of General Gowon, that this idea was first mooted in 1974. But it didn't see the light of the day until 1992, when the former head of state, Babangida, set up the Nigerian Press Council through Decree 85. And the idea was that they felt the media was assuming too much power, and they needed an organization that would regulate the conduct of the media. And a lot of people rose up at that time to say, look, we are not against regulation, but regulation has to be done by the media, just as it is done, has to be done by the media institution themselves. So, and that battle has been on and on and on. And we are also arguing that we are aware that there are media excesses, especially in the age of social media and all that, but that you cannot create another court to determine the fate in this instance, since we have the 1999 Constitution that is supreme. And under Section 22 of the 1999 Constitution, it empowers the media to hold the government accountable to the people, that the government must be transparent. The media must hold the government to be accountable, to be transparent. So, and that's what the media has been doing. And under Section 36 of the 1999 Constitution, there's freedom of speech, and also empowers individuals and organizations to set up means of communication, of disseminating information. So if anybody is aggrieved, the right thing for you is to go to court. But when you now have a kind of another Nigerian Press Council, institution that now has to arbitrate, in dispute between the public and the media, then you are setting up another court which will usurp, the Constitution, and will undermine the ground norm of the society.
And you think that this is an attempt to stifle, or if you like, box into a corner, the Nigerian media? Clearly,
that is what they want to do, because you have a situation that you have a very vibrant media, and then we have people in power that don't, they want to run government in the kind of secrecy. We should learn from best practice all over the world. We don't even need to go to Europe. Look at Ghana. Ghana has the National Media Commission. The president of the National Media Commission is elected. And the National Media Commission in Ghana is guided by two principles. First is freedom of speech, then liberty, human liberty. So it's not about whether you are questioning the government and all that. So if you take any case to the National Media Commission in Ghana, the two principles is that, look, people have the right to freedom of speech and also human liberty. In South Africa too, these are African countries, they have the Press Council. It's also independent of government. And all over time, they have been able to deal with issues that, has to do with the public, dispute between the public and the media. And in fact, the Nigerian Press Council that was set up in 1992, they've had about 150 cases in the first 22 years. They were only able to resolve only 17 cases. About 133 cases were yet to be resolved, because there is a court there. So you cannot usurp the right of the court. If you have any grievances with the media, the right thing for you is to go to court. But when you now have an institution that is being regulated by the government, and we all know that the government does not want a vibrant press, then it's really going to be a very big problem for the media. But it's an attempt to stifle the media, to suppress freedom of expression, and also to ensure that the Nigerian media reports issues in a way that satisfies those that are in power.
All right, but what could be giving rise to this now? The timing is what I'm looking at. A lot of people have had concern with the fake news and all of that excesses, rumors, spreading of even things that are not factual on social media. Could that be one of the reasons why this is coming up at this time?
This has always been there, even before the advent of social media. Okay. I mean, people manufacture rumors, even during political campaigns. Politicians make statements that are not true. Don't forget that the media does not report itself. The media reports what the public, give out to the media institution. So the fact of the matter is that there are enough regulatory bodies. The NUJ has its ethics committee. The Nigerian Guild of Editors has its own ethics committee. So, and they have been doing their work. So we don't need another party that is going to be determined by the government. So the idea is not whether they really want to regulate, to ensure that professionalism. It's not their job. They are not journalists to regulate whether people should practice journalism in a way that meets with ethical standards. So if we are talking about regulating the conduct of journalists, it should be led for the Nigerian Guild of Editors and the NUJ. It shouldn't be an institution that will be controlled by the government, whereby the government will now use that opportunity to witch hunt, enemies.
And interfere.
Yes. If there are laws to be made, we are talking
matters.
about taking off, I mean, if you are importing materials on education and all that, you can make those things to be duty free. Printing materials and all that, all those kind of things, and then to also liberalize the media. To give them conditions, I mean, to create an enabling environment where media institutions can thrive. That is what we expect the media, I mean, the National Assembly to be doing, not to be creating bottlenecks that will further stifle media practice and free expression.
But let me ask you this, even though that as a one who functions within the, the industry, and looking for, I'm trying to see that the industry is not stifled and all of that. But the question is, how free have the Nigerian media been?
Largely, the Nigerian media has derived its freedom from public goodwill. It's not whether the government really wants us to be. We have all over time, since 1859 that media practice started in Nigeria. The media has always, seized its own freedom. There is no government over time that wants Nigerian media to be free. Look at, social media. You have Premium Times, you have Savannah Reporters, So the idea is that left for the government, all the governments we have had, since 1960, none of them really wants a free media. But we're in a particular age that freedom, free expression has become a wild wind that doesn't need any visa to enter any country. I can set up a media organization in my room in Ghana and report about Nigeria. I can set up a media institution online in Uganda and report about Nigeria. So they have to know that they should not go ahead to make laws that will be full-time, that will not even make any impact. Because people, I mean, if I have, Sahara Reporter, for instance, operates from New York. So if you make your law here, that will not stop Sahara Reporter from still operating. So I'm happy that the media stakeholders, the Nigerian Guild of Editors, NUJ, PAN, have come out to speak with one voice against this bill. It's quite embarrassing that it has been read, it has passed the second reading in the Senate. So we advise them to throw away this bill, and if they don't do it, the senators and lawmakers that are promoting this bill will mobilize the people to ensure that they do not come back for second time. We
still have with us Adewale Adeoye. He is the Executive Director, Journalist for Democratic Rights, with us in the studio. We're talking about the new media bill. Now, let's look at the issue of the Freedom of Information Act, which is in place. But when they talk about the issue of taking advantage of that act, how would you assess how journalists are taking advantage of the act of the Freedom of Information?
Well, I think in many instances, media organizations and individuals have made effective use of the Freedom of Information law. There are so many milestones, across the country, because the law is not just for the media alone. It's about public accountability. So individuals also have the right to use, that bill to get information about how affairs of, public affairs have been administered. And I think there are so many instances where that bill has been effectively used. We also have some instances where state government try to claim that, the law is not applicable to them, And I think this is quite unfortunate because any law made by the National Assembly,
it covers Nigeria,
the jurisdiction in the 30 states of the Federation. So we've been, engaging them. In fact, there have been so many people who have been taken to court, because you can't segregate laws that are meant for you and then say some other laws are not meant for you. If there is any law made by the National Assembly, it's applicable, to all the states. But we also seen some striking examples, like the state government domesticated, the Freedom of Information law. That was around 2014 when FIME was in power. So, but even then, we don't think we need to wait for states to domesticate that law. It's a national law, and it is applicable everywhere, every inch of Nigerian territory. That law is applicable, and I think people have been making very good use of it. So this idea of the Press Council bill is an attempt to reverse that clock. And I think we just need to rise up and speak with one voice to say that we are not going to accept, this bill. And of course, there is a case before the Supreme Court about this Nigerian Press Council. So, and that one is yet to run its full course. So it's quite, it's prejudice for you to now be making another law when we already have the case. We are challenging that existing Nigerian Press Council, the Nigerian Press Council Constitution. We are challenging it in the Supreme Court. So you cannot come and make a law, when that case even yet to be determined by the Supreme Court. So I think this is really going to, to put us at cross purposes with the current regime. It's a law that it's not just media people that should oppose it, the Nigerian people, because we are like a bridge that express the pent-up anger of Nigerians. So when you try to block that pigeonhole, then you are giving people
even takes the government far away
violence,
from the people.
When people cannot express themselves. It's even one of the causes of of violence, terrorism, and all sort of things. The media should be the bridge where people talk to the government, express their views in a way that may even make the government to be angry. Because our responsibility is not to make people in government to be comfortable. We have to put them on their toes.
Interrogate them.
Interrogate and engage them constructively. Give them sleepless nights. That's the role of the media. That's why they call it the fourth estate of the realm. We don't want to have a government where people just do whatever they think they have to do and nobody holds them accountable.
But what exactly is the next step? As it is at the moment, it has passed second reading.
Yes.
What steps are you and then other members of the media intending to take just in case this happens?
Yeah,
to ensure that this is blocked.
Yeah, I think we are exploiting the goodwill of people, a few people in the National Assembly who at least have some kind of progressive credentials. And of course, the social media, the mainstream media will wage an intensive campaign, global international campaign, to ensure that they drop this bill. And it's going to be a political tool. If you are a lawmaker and you are in support of this bill, Nigerian people must ensure that you don't go to that National Assembly.
And it happened in Zimbabwe as well, where this sort of thing wanted to happen.
Yeah.
And then there was shout about it. People shouted about it.
People shouted, Nigeria is supposed to be, the pace setter for Africa in terms of democratic values, in terms of best practices. Unfortunately, Ghana has taken that, steam away from us. So it's an embarrassment, and the whole world is looking that, the so-called giant of Africa is coming up with laws, that one could not even have imagined under military governments. So people should know that what they are doing is a reflection of, how people will look at us in the global community. So it's not just about Nigeria, it's also about what role we want to play in international affairs.
Okay, but let's even look at the media itself, or the press itself. In talking about this media, is whether it's the print media or electronic media, are they educating the public enough? Because we expect to see lots and lots and lots of churning out of itemized information, simplification to raising the alarm right now. Are we raising alarm enough to enlighten the public about the dangers of what is going on?
Yeah, I think the public hearing took place on a few days ago. And but beyond that, there have been a series of meetings. In fact, we have the code of conduct for reporters covering politics, which is being championed by the International Press Center. You know, we have been holding meetings, trying to create standard practice when you are covering politics, trying to avoid hate speech, trying to be professional and all that. So these are some of the things we have been doing on our own before this bill, was raised by the Senate. I think there is a campaign going on, but it's an ongoing process. You know, the tempo at the National Assembly will determine the level of response, from media organizations and the public. So we hope they will drop it, but if they don't, if they go ahead with, the stage, beyond the stage they have reached now, then they are going to see more aggressive response from the Nigerian media.
Well, the Minister of Information, Lai Mohammed, a few days ago, came out to talk about campaign against fake news and all of that. And although he did say that, look, we are not creating new laws to guard against this because we already have enough laws to guard against, all of this. But again, do you think that media houses are taking enough responsibilities in ensuring that this, fake news thing is very well checked?
We need to make a distinction. We have mainstream media,
the traditional
media.
media.
When you are talking about online media, we know the professional ones. But there are people that set up, do I call it, we used to refer to them as gutter media institutions. You can, and of course,
but some of them are from the main media. Some of them who left the main media are the ones who set up these ones.
Some of them, but not all of them.
Yes.
So we should not define the media from these, dark spots. It's all over the world. And, I think the Nigerian government is also trying to deliberately distort, the question of, which one is, mainstream media and which one is, gutter media. I mean, we should be conscious to make the decision. All over the world in the US, people sit down in their rooms and they write all sorts of things. You cannot hold the media responsible for that. You see, when you go to social media, people call President Trump all sorts of names. People are, they can do it because that's free speech. You cannot say because everything everybody writes on social media is about Nigerian media. You must be able to make that distinction. I think it is mischievous to just say everything you see on social media is about the Nigerian media. No, they must understand that distinction is there. And that when people write whatever they want to write, that we don't have control over them. That's individual opinion. But we have seen cases where people that are aggrieved trace those individuals and ensure that they seek redress through the law court. Okay. So we must all have respect for the constitution of the country, for the law courts as a final arbiter in any dispute between the media and the public, not a different institution being set up by the Senate.
Okay, this is a discourse that we'll keep beaming searchlight on as we move along. Adewale Adeoye, Executive Director, Journalist for Democratic Rights. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Right.